How what they just said to me is that every single person watching this can go out and have sex tomorrow. All of you can. There's nobody who can't do it. So they're talking about this as it's not an impossibility, as in there's a way that we're framing our desire for intimacy, connection, and all that good stuff is like so hard. It's so beyond us, and like it feels like, oh, I do think that the spirits are looking at us a little bit like, listen to them, like they're like, ah, it's not possible, it's so hard. And so they're like, well, firstly, we want to like undo the conditioning and the core belief system that it's just this thing that is so difficult to do by beginning with this basic truth that you, all of you, could walk outside of your home tomorrow and find somebody who would have sex with you. And then think about what is the feeling that comes up in the body from from that idea. And for some of you, it might feel expansive. You might feel like, I would love to do that. So like the thought of that sounds amazing. And for others of you, it may bring up fear. It may be like, oh, am I safe? And actually, I feel like safety is one of the big things here. And also what I was talking about, right? Safety feels like a really, really big issue. And the reason I keep saying that is because everything else I want to say as like potential things, thoughts, and feelings we could be having about it all fall under the umbrella of safety. Like it all comes back to am I safe? Whether that is physically safe, whether that is emotionally safe, whether that is mentally, spiritually safe. You know, what like am I seen and I safe? Like, is this a safe connection, safe engagement? There's another comment here. I just wanted to see it. I'm hungry for romantic partnership and companionship. Hungry. Oh, sorry, I've read that one. Um, I'm a bit shy to bring this up to BH, but it's been 4 years and I feel like I'm losing my mind a little bit. I just want a safe person to put me through the mattress, please and thanks. Don't you know it? Like, ditto. Hungry for and desire romantic partnership, but also the options, these apps. And I also feel like spirits keeping me away from everyone. Things feel bleak in that department. Okay, yeah, so it's the same kind of similar energy, similar question. Yeah, Seven of Swords, Seven of Cups, I love that. Yeah, Queen of Pentacles. There's a lot of pain in the body, and there's like what I feel like is that everybody here needs pleasure medicine in some way, shape, or form. You can see that you can notice as well that I'm sighing a lot, which is signaling the heaviness or the difficulty of the energy that I'm feeling. Queen of Pentacles of the body, crown in the body, making the body primary. And there is a real need and emphasis right now for us to make the body king slash queen. Like we need to prioritize for the body first. And it comes up with two seven cards, Seven of Swords, Seven of Cups. Now, Seven of Cups is the options, and for me, it also feels like the Neptunian energy, the vibrational realities, the food that we get energetically from engaging in certain spaces and with certain people and certain things and art and all that good stuff, right? But the Seven of Swords is our difficulty accessing or experiencing that. And when I will I pray I get the time and space, energy, and desire to repost those videos to Patreon, and I think patrons deserve it. So I'll try and do that. But when I in that video that I did, I talked about the love and the support that I received for coming to Kenya, being really triggering for me. And actually, I was in pain in my physical body. At first, I was really dysregulated, and I just felt like I can't take it, like I can't process the support and the way people have loved me. And then I could feel pain, like it hurt. It hurt to be loved and taken care of. And this is what that Seven of Swords energy is, where it's like the roots through the body for us to experience those pleasures have gone dry and they're calcified, is what I can see. It's like old pipes. I think that's why physically I feel so achy in today's session. I feel as though, you know, like if you've done a full body workout and you've not worked out in 6 months and you go to the gym and you go to class and you go so hard, like, and then the next day your body is like, are you for real? Be for real. Why did you do that? Like, no. And I can feel crankiness, like crookedness, aching. The body is just, oh, I need a massage. Just how it feels. The body is aching. And this is what's happened to us in terms of the channels in our lives for receiving the things that we desire to receive. So, part of the message and why I was saying that we need pleasure medicine is that you need to open up the channels in the body again to the frequency and the bands and the directions of pleasure. And then you need that in all kinds of ways. So you just need your life to feel good. And that feels like what they're showing me is it's like a kind of momentum where it gets things off the ground, as in pleasure and sweetness and goodness becomes they're showing me like moisture on wheels. So it's like oiling the wheels, like getting things going, getting things rolling, like your life having goodness, sweetness, pleasure in it, in and of itself, is critical to you being able to access or experience the things that you really desire to experience, in this case, love, romantic partnership, and intimacy. They're showing me that actually for many of us, the channels in the body are really stiff and shut down, and there are lots of things that we want and don't have the open channels for receiving. How what they just said to me is that every single person watching this can go out and have sex tomorrow. All of you can. So they want to say some stuff about safety. Everyone watching this in some way, shape, or form has walked away or distanced themselves from their sexual energy here. Ace of Fire, Two of Swords, which is the peace card, and then the Wild card, which is leaving. So in some way, shape, or form, wherever you are finding yourself in your life, you have, it's not abandoned, but you don't tend in the fire. So for me, for example, even though I'm very active in self-pleasure, I'm not having sex with other people. So that is the way that would be a way of describing this, like leaving the Ace of Fire energy to itself, like not tending it, distancing myself, walking away from it. You may be someone who's not doing either. Do you know what I mean? You're not having, there's just no sex going on, not with yourself, not with others, like just nothing. But also, everyone's being encouraged to start to think about what sex means in your life. As in, like, you need to understand. Hmm. The message is you need to understand what is the function of sex for you, what does sex give you, so that you understand what it means for you to not give it to yourself. And they are really saying this, not give it to yourself, because they're saying, yeah, Ace of Fire right at the bottom of the deck again. They're saying that we have a lot of terms and conditions for what we conceive of as the right conditions or the right, the safe environment to be having sex in. And they're saying if you had a better understanding of what sex was for you in your life and your body, you might not put such stipulations around it. This is hard. This is hard to process, feel, hear, and give the message. So the example they're giving me is actually in relation to food. And they're like, in the same way that like for me, sometimes I'm feeling in Nairobi that it's not necessarily like by contrast, I eat really well in South Africa and I find it really easy um to feed myself and so having beautiful roast veg and like rosemary and like CBD, cooking my veg and CBD oil, like that's so much. It was really, really easy and incredibly affordable for me to find food and to nourish myself in like really joyful ways and to really, yeah, it was easy. And now when I'm in Nairobi, I'm not finding it very easy at all. I'm not feeling as well nourished, and but that doesn't mean I don't eat. See what I mean? So even though it's not the same quality, it's not doing the same things to my body, like it's not exactly what I would want it to be. I understand eating as critical to my survival. So whether or not it's as enjoyable, exactly the things that I would want to be having, I'm still eating. And so they're saying that if you understood sex in your life as critical to your survival, as critical to your life and your vitality, then you would have it under other conditions. The message from spirit continues to be, this is so crazy. Because the phrase I heard was lower your standards. And do you know how wild that is? But I fully heard that. As in, yeah, they're like some of you, us, are seeking marriage or deep, long-term loving partnership. And they're like, you're not even getting the most basic need of sex met. Like, how are you going from that to that? They're like, it would be like saying, I really want to go for a banquet and I just want to eat everything. I'm just like, I want everything on this like 20-seat table, every possible meal, like there's like a spread for a royal family. And then there's a plate of rice in front of you, and like, but I'm not gonna eat it. I'm just gonna keep thinking about this banquet. And they're like, you're gonna die before you get to the banquet if you don't eat this rice. So part of the message is this is not easy. You need to we I mean now I'm switching to you. We need to do some work to understand what sex means to us. And it's going to be different for everybody, right? We don't all have the same relationship to sex. But you do need to understand what it means to you so that you can see under what conditions you need to have it anyway. Oh my gosh, Spirit, when I tell you, if you can hear Spirit is dragging us, like we are being so dragged. Like I literally heard them saying to me, to be as sexless as we are is to be like dry spirited. Like, do you know how rude that is to call us dry spirits? Ah. The chat says, did not expect to be called out this way. Neither did I. I thought I was coming here to just answer some personal questions, not be told that we have dry, raggedy spirits because we're sexless. That's rude. Let's ask about, okay, yeah. It's really interesting because you know what? There's a deck that I've not even shuffled yet, but I took it out as a potential to use. And what is the card at the bottom of the deck? Safe. And I was just about to say, I still want to ask them about this issue of safety. They're literally saying, what's the worst that can happen? No, guys, there's a lot of you asked me that, I can give you a list. So they're kind of like when it comes to what's the worst that they could happen, and obviously this is not about being reckless with yourself, but let's just say under reasonable terms of engaging in sex with someone, you've got that energy curious and regretful, which is I opened this box, so I did this thing, and I didn't, it wasn't great. Do you know what I mean? It could be like, I didn't really like this person. Sex wasn't really that good. There's, there's lots of different kind of scenarios. I'm a Virgo, so the scenario that came up into my mind was like, this place wasn't clean enough. I know that's so wild, but okay, little story. There was this guy who brought me back to his place, and I think had desires and intentions of us sleeping together. But his room, I couldn't believe it. Like when I tell you, it was so extremely messy. And to the point where maybe you couldn't walk, like there was no walking space. And then everything was on the bed, like everything. And I looked at that and I thought, there's no conceivable way. There's me, this triple Virgo, it's not happening. Like it's just not gonna happen. So part of the message is like, did you have sex in the messy room? Like these are some of the things that they're saying. It's like, okay, it was a bit like it wasn't great. It's like it's kind of they're giving us worst case scenario energy. Like it's just not amazing. Do you know what I mean? And not even just the quality of the sex, but the conditions of the sex. Or maybe it's not a person you're ever going to see again or whatever. But they're like, okay, but when you think about no, they're showing me McDonald's and this like, you know, when you eat McDonald's and you maybe like you're drunk or high or whatever, and you get like a cheeky McDonald's or you get fast food and it's like, yum, 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 but it's actually disgusting. Like afterwards, you're like, I feel stuffed, I feel sick, and like it's not nutritious. but actually you still got that feeling that you were seeking when you were like tipsy and you were, oh, I really want a burger. Do you know what I mean? It's like you still fed yourself that pleasure. And then later on you're like, okay, that wasn't I don't want to eat McDonald's again. And they're like, okay, well, that's kind of the worst case scenario in terms of if we start engaging in sex again. Because they're saying the alternative is this. We got sad and hateful, but I really even want to go for crushed heart rather than hateful hair. But yeah, this is the energy. This is what we look like. And then like, so you would rather live your life like this than just be like things are a bit mediocre every now and then, or just not to my perfect standards, or not the love of my life, for example. Like it was sex, but it wasn't the love of my life. They're just like, come on, like got to loosen up. Everybody's rigid. This is rude. I really feel like this is not one thing I'll talk to you about spirit. Spirit does not always feel or discuss or say things in ways that are like politically correct or aligned. Like sometimes some of these messages, I'm like, this is not progressive. Like calling us basically being called frigid by spirit is wild. Like this is not progressive at all. The chat says, okay, spirit, not too much going on down there. And someone else says the lesson is get some McDonald's if you want to reach the banquet feast. We are being dragged, we're being dragged. You can't even hear the full dragon. I can hear it. And again, like the alternative is this. We've got grief and panicky, where we're just like desperate, we get really desperate from this space of like lack and discouragement. And then the other energies here that came flying out were grateful. So we have this energy of like, gratitude for what we do have, gratitude for the good things in our life. Oh, I'm not having sex, I don't have any erotic energy, but I have good friends. Do you know what I mean? Or at least I've got a job, or I've got this art project, or do you know what I mean? I have all of these things that we're grateful for in life. And you're like, you lot are grateful, but at the same time, you are hopeless and ashamed. And a lot of that shame comes from lack of desire or lack of being desired or not engaging sexually. Then, okay, I'm going to use the example of the biker. Like, what about when there's actual danger? Okay, they are listening to this question. Because again, I do think safety is a block. I do. I understand that they're saying it's a conceptual one. Okay, yeah. And okay, there's a few things coming up. They're saying that the safety is also an issue of avoidance. Like we are avoiding sex and we're avoiding intimacy through the framework of safety. They're saying that we do need to be practical. Obviously, we need to be practically minded and not reckless with ourselves. But they're saying that this is a deeper psychological issue related to abandonment. It's not actually an issue of physical safety. So it's not really that we're so afraid that someone's going to kidnap us, for example, or physically harm us, that we're just not engaging in sex at all. They're like, this is a lie. The stakes are not as high as that. And that's not true. So they're not believing us on that front. So they're like, this, what we're articulating as fear or paranoia around our safety is actually a different level. And it is about hostility and abandonment. I literally heard them say, yeah, let's talk about it. Like this is the truth, not I want to be safe. So basically, the part of the message, we've got the child priestess here, and part of the message is that they're saying we are actually showing up in terms of this energy of sex, dating, love, and romance with the child self, which is ultimately inappropriate. So it is the child aspect of the self that is most deeply fearing of being abandoned. And I find this a lot actually when I work with people around soulmate stuff. You really do find that it is often the child self that is, we're loving from the child self. And it leads to all kinds of problems, basically, when that is the aspect of self that is engaged in romantic connection. Even if you are the human adult talking, it is the child that is here. It's the child that's come to play. It's the child that's, oh my gosh, someone is seeing me. Someone wants to play with me. Someone wants to love me. Like it is that part of you. that has no business in an adult relationship, particularly not a sexual one. So the first point is that we need to be aware of how when we're showing up to romantic connections from the child state. And they're saying that if you are heartbroken, it is a really quick highway. So if you have any forms of like wounding, heartbreak, or grief, it is a really, oh, it's just a moth. Sorry, I thought it was a mosquito. Really quick highway to accessing the child self. It's like it's literally like the fastest access point in which the child self will manifest really quickly or surface. So they're saying that we need to create boundaries with that aspect of ourselves by feeding the child self, the child things. Let me ask a little bit more about what that is. Because yeah, they're saying that the part of the reason the child self is showing up is because it's starved. Like, so as soon as it's seeing some of what it needs, it's like, oh great, like I can come to the table. Yeah, this is yeah. Ooh, this is a little bit deep for me. What they're saying is for many of us, the child self is inadequately loved in the familial context, right? So we're talking about healthy family relationships, healthy parent relationships, sibling relationships, right? Broader community that relates to you as a child. I was watching this show on Apple called Pachinko, and I love it because the children in that show, they are so loved. Oh my gosh. Like I watched it, I was like, look at this entire community of people, the joy that I could see. This one the cutest little boy, and the joy that I could see, like he had like anybody from the local pastor to the local grocery lady to his auntie to his uncle to his brother to his mother to his dad. There were so many adults with whom he was just bouncing back and forth between, who were loving him and entertaining him and telling him stories and feeding him and playing with him. And it was just this constant feedback of kind of love and affirmation and being seen. And then his grandma moved there, and that was another layer of love. And part of the energy is that we've been deprived of that. And so you may have had life experiences where this child aspect of the self was not adequately loved and seen and nurtured and nourished. And so that part of you shows up when love is on the table because it needs love. It needs love. So it's like, oh gosh, someone's here to love me, a romantic partner. And it's like now the child is like a princess bride. Yeah. So in order to prevent that from happening, I love that. Thank you so much. To prevent that from happening, what we need to do is conscientiously feed the child in ourselves. We need to have set periods of time in our lives where we are like, this is for childish things or childlike play. And if you don't have adults, because this can also come through the energy of friends, to be honest, but if you don't have adults in your life who can tend to the child and give that child that love and that attention, ancestors, your ancestors are willing. They're very willing to nurture and tend to the child's parts of you so that it's not so desperate for attention and popping out in the wrong places. So we do need to figure out again, like again, connecting. You know how I said, like going back to those childhood dreams, those old parts of ourselves. We do need to connect with the child self and understand what is my child self desiring or needing, and then carve out time in our lives to respond to those needs and desires, and then collaborate with our spirit team, however that looks like for you. And for me right now, like I said, I'm using a lot of energy of prayer, but to build those relationships with our local spirits, the spirits around us, to nurture and respond to the child. So the child becomes occupied and satisfied and is not dominating your romantic connections. And then that leaves room for the adult you. It's really raining heavily. It leaves some time for the adult you to now show up in connection. And then we're talking about these fears of abandonment and rejection or harshness. Yeah, I love that. Because then the Father of Coins comes out. And obviously, I'm speaking in a kind of heteronormative way right now, but this doesn't only relate to men. It's just that men are in the social dynamics, we have begun to feel and experience them in our bodies as predators. So there's like an easy fear that comes up when dealing with men specifically. But that can be all kinds of types of people, whether they are gendered male or not. Now, the father of coins here, the message here is that when you can do that, when the child self can go away, then you can, sorry, go away sounds a bit harsh, but when the child self is in the appropriate place, then you can see a man for just a man. You can see a person for what they are, which is just a person. So with like a child, the children think people and things are larger than life, and children are, they fantasize and they make people bigger than they are, and they see people as like, oh my gosh, this person's so amazing, and when you're showing up romantically in the child's self, and you're like showing up with like googly eyes, like, oh, and then of course, if you make a god out of someone and they reject you, you will be devastated in the same way that a child would be. You know how like children come back crying because someone don't want to play with them? Do you know what I mean? For a child, that is like it's the end of the world. Do you know what I mean? For an adult, it's like, oh well, I don't want to play with you anyway. Do you know what I mean? We have our ways of being like, whatever. Like, so again, the child self can't be the one that's doing the sex and the dating because the stakes are too high, and all that feeling in the body of I'm so scared, and safety, safety, safety is the child going, oh my gosh, like I maybe wasn't protected as a child. What if I engage with this adult that I am glorifying and they're mean to me? That's what's going on there. But if you come into your adult self, then you just see them as a person and you're like, okay, so this person was just being a person, and they're just, it's not that serious. It's like it's just another person, just another bike rider. Do you know what I mean? I'm not gonna like cry tonight because of the bike rider. It's not that serious. Yeah, funny enough, I don't even know the name of this bike rider. I've no concept. I can't even remember what they're called. That should really tell you something. So this is the message for us.